It's 7:42 a.m. at Marlon's Diner, a small roadside spot in rural Georgia. The air smells like burnt bacon and nostalgia. Vinyl booths squeak when people move. The same truckers and retirees occupy the same seats every morning, talking about the same politics and weather. And in the far-right booth near the window sits Mr. Harold Green, 72 years old. Black, wears his age like it's ironed into his soul. Army veteran. Fought in Vietnam when this town still refused to serve men like him. Now, all he wants is his routine. A bowl of oatmeal, 1 black coffee, and 10 minutes of silence with the newspaper. He's been coming here since 1985, never missed a Thursday. Some mornings he hums an old Sam Cooke tune under his breath. Today, he doesn't hum. He just reads the paper, his glasses sliding down his nose, his posture crisp. Like he still salutes the world even when it doesn't salute back. He fought for a country that never fully fought for him, but that never stopped him from standing tall. The diner door jingles open. Derek Holt, 33, strides in. Hard boots, loud voice, confidence that smells like trouble. He's a construction foreman in town, known for his jokes that don't land and his ego that never leaves. He laughs too loudly, flirts too shamelessly, and tips too little. This morning, he's already half drunk on his own arrogance. "Coffee, Marlon," he barks, slapping the counter. "Make it strong enough to wake the dead." He turns, scanning the diner. His eyes land on Harold, the only black man in the room, alone, peaceful, untouched by the noise. Derek smirks. "Didn't know we had museum exhibits eating breakfast out here," he mutters just loud enough. A few customers chuckle nervously. Some pretend not to hear. Harold doesn't even blink. He turns the page of his newspaper, steady hands, unmoved expression. Sometimes silence is the loudest warning a man can give, but Derek can't stand silence. To him, silence feels like disrespect. He walks over, coffee mug still in hand. "You deaf, old man," he says, leaning on Harold's table. "I said." Harold looks up, calm, eyes like steady glass. "I heard you," he says softly. "I just didn't think you were talking to me." Derek laughs, too loud, too forced. "Guess that uniform in your head made you forget who's running this town now." Harold sets down his spoon. Slowly. His tone never changes. "Son, I was wearing a uniform when your granddaddy was still hiding from the draft." The diner falls silent. Forks stop mid-air. Coffee drips off a spout somewhere. There's a kind of calm that doesn't beg for respect. It commands it. Derek's grin fades. Embarrassment flashes into anger. He grabs the coffee pot off the counter, full, steaming, reckless. "Let's see if you still talk so calmly after this," he sneers. And before anyone can move, he tilts it. Hot coffee splashes over Harold's lap, a hiss. Gasps. The sound of liquid hitting fabric and skin. Every head turns. Someone whispers, "Oh my God." Harold flinches but doesn't rise. He just looks down at his soaked trousers, then at Derek, and for a moment that diner becomes a battlefield only two men can see. Derek waits for him to yell, to curse, to react. But Harold doesn't. He just reaches for a napkin, wipes the coffee off his jacket and stands. He's shorter than Derek, older, slower, but somehow taller in spirit. He looks Derek straight in the eye. "You done?" That's all he says, just 2 words, no shouting, no trembling, no fear. He walks to the counter, lays a few bills down and heads for the door. No one moves, no one stops him. He opens the door and steps into the morning light, leaving silence hanging behind him like smoke. He didn't fight back, but every step he took out that door felt like a quiet declaration of war. Derek looks around, waiting for laughter, validation, something. But the room is still. Even the waitress, a young girl no older than 19, won't look at him. She mutters under her breath, "What's wrong with you?" He shrugs, just teaching him where he stands. She shakes her head. "No, sir, you just showed us all where you stand." He tries to laugh it off, but no one laughs with him. He sits back down, pretending it's over. But it isn't. Not by a long shot. Because behind the counter, that same young waitress, her hands trembling, quietly unplugs the diner's security camera system. Then plugs in a flash drive. She copies the footage, every second of it. What Derek didn't realize was that the world was already watching. It just hadn't hit upload yet. That evening, Mr. Harold Green sits on his porch in the same way he always does. A gentle southern sunset behind him, crickets singing, the hum of an old radio in the background. He doesn't call anyone, doesn't complain. He just stares into the distance, hands still steady, heart still quiet. Inside his home, a photo sits framed on the mantel. A younger Harold in uniform beside a proud teenage boy, Marcus. Underneath the frame, an old military medal glints faintly in the light. Harold runs his thumb over it, then whispers softly, "You don't gotta fight every battle, son. Some of them fight themselves." He leans back. Let the night hold him. He thought it was over, but the real battle was just beginning, and his son was about to find out. If you're still watching, subscribe, because some stories deserve to be seen all the way through. What happens next will remind you why silence can be louder than revenge. Back at the diner, Derek wipes down his table, acting unbothered. But whispers ripple through the town by morning. The waitress's upload starts spreading like wildfire, and one name begins trending in a Navy inbox hundreds of miles away. Harold Green. He thought he'd embarrassed an old man, but all he did was announce himself to the wrong family. It started with a phone, a shaky video taken by a teenage waitress who didn't know that pressing upload would shake a whole town. The clip was barely a minute long. A white man pouring coffee on an elderly black veteran, in silence. No shouting, no fight back. Just an old man sitting there soaked in dignity. The caption read, "White guy dumps coffee on old black vet." He didn't even flinch. By nightfall, it had 80,000 views. By midnight, 2 million. By morning, every news outlet had picked it up. Georgia diner incident. Elderly veteran humiliated, and everyone had an opinion. But only one man had a reason to make it personal. At a naval base in Virginia, 8:42 p.m., Lieutenant Marcus Green, 32, a Navy SEAL, disciplined to the bone, sat in his quarters. He had just come back from a 6-hour training run when his teammate tossed him a phone. "Yo, Marcus, ain't this your pops?" The room went quiet. He pressed play. There it was, his father, Harold Green. Calm, still, not a trace of fear, not even a blink of anger, just quiet power. Marcus froze. His jaw tightened. His hand gripped the phone like a weapon. He replayed the video. Once, twice, again. Every pour of coffee felt like an insult aimed at every man who ever had to bite his tongue just to survive. For most people, it was just a viral video. For Marcus, it was blood calling out for justice. He closed the laptop, picked up his phone. 3 rings. "Harold, Marcus?" "Yeah. You okay, Pops?" "I'm fine, son. I know you saw the video. Some men fight wars they have already lost." That line hit him deep. His father had fought in Vietnam, come home to a country that saluted his uniform but ignored his struggle. And still, after all those years, he refused to let anger win. Marcus leaned back in his chair. His voice dropped. "You always said dignity was a weapon. I guess it's time someone remembered that." Over the next few hours, the video spread like fire. Reddit threads, TikTok duets. Comment sections flooded with hashtags, #Justice for Harold, Black Veteran, Dignity Under Fire. And in all that noise, one quiet username appeared in every comment section. mgreen89. Marcus wasn't there to argue. He was gathering information. Within 30 minutes, he knew everything about Derek Holt, the bully from the diner, construction foreman, married, 1 kid, no military record, a history of casual jokes that weren't really jokes, a habit of bragging about putting people in their place, and a habit of cutting costs when buying construction materials. Marcus wasn't looking for a fight. He was looking for a lesson that would hurt longer than a bruise. That night, in his small barracks room, Marcus opened his laptop again. He played the video one last time, then paused at the exact frame where Harold looked up at Derek, calm, unbroken. He whispered under his breath, "He taught me to fight clean, but clean doesn't mean quiet." Then he opened a folder labeled Recon Protocols. He started tracing Derek's company, his local news network, and the diner's CCTV. Within hours, he had what he needed. Not revenge. Leverage. If you've been watching up to this point, pause for a second. Stories like this? They don't end with fists. They end with fathers and sons showing the world what real power looks like. Subscribe because we tell the stories that power tried to silence. The next morning, Marcus walked into the base commander's office. He handed over a leave form. "Family emergency," he said. The commander looked up. "Everything all right, Lieutenant?" "It will be." No more words needed. Within hours, Marcus was on the road back to Georgia. Meanwhile, Derek Holt was basking in the wrong kind of fame. He told his buddies, "Man, it's just the internet. They'll move on by next week." But they didn't. His company got flooded with calls. The diner started losing customers. And at home, his wife asked him, "Did you really pour coffee on that old man?" Derek laughed it off. "Babe, it's just a joke gone wrong." She didn't laugh back. She walked away. See, when shame goes public, it doesn't knock. It walks straight through your front door. Back at the diner, Marlon, the owner, was sweating bullets. Reporters parked outside. Customers are filming everything. He didn't know that in less than 24 hours someone was coming through those same glass doors. Not for breakfast, but for balance. That night, Marcus stood outside his father's small house. Same porch light, same flag by the door. He didn't knock right away. He just stood there watching the house where he'd learned the meaning of restraint. Then he knocked. Harold opened the door, calm as always. The same man from the video, but older in the light of his own silence. "Marcus, hey Pops. You saw it. I saw it." They sat down. No words at first. Just the quiet hum of two generations thinking about how many times a man can be disrespected before silence stops being noble. Harold finally said, "You planning something?" Marcus didn't answer directly. Just thinking about justice, the kind that doesn't spill blood, just truth. Later that night, Marcus plugged in a USB stick, downloaded every frame of the diner's CCTV footage, different angles, clearer sound, sharper proof. He cropped it, cleaned it, color-corrected it, frame by frame. Then he saved it under one title, Lesson in Respect, because sometimes the best payback isn't what you do, it's what the world sees you do. The next morning, the video had one final edit. Marcus added text at the end. The man in this video is Harold Green, U.S. Army veteran, Vietnam 1968 to 1972. The man who disrespected him has yet to learn that real strength isn't loud. He uploaded it, not from an anonymous account, but from his verified Navy SEAL page. The clip exploded. CNN picked it up. Veterans pages reposted it. Even active duty soldiers spoke out. "We stand with Harold Green." And in a quiet suburb of Georgia, Derek Holt woke up to his phone buzzing with hundreds of missed calls, thousands of messages, and one truth. The internet never forgets. He thought the story was over when he walked out of that diner. He didn't realize the real fight was about to walk in. If you've made it this far, don't scroll yet. This story isn't over. Hit that subscribe button, because what happens when the sun comes home changes everything. 2 days later, the diner door opened again. Same bell above the door, same smell of burnt toast and old grease. But this time it wasn't Harold Green walking in. It was his son, Lieutenant Marcus Green. No uniform, no medals, just quiet presence, the kind that makes men look twice before speaking. He moved like someone who'd been trained to control a room without ever raising his voice. Harold looked up from his corner booth. His face didn't change, but his eyes told a story. Part pride, part warning. He folded his newspaper the same way he had the day Derek poured coffee on him. "You didn't have to come, son," he said softly. "I did," Marcus replied, "because some lessons don't stick until they're taught twice." He didn't come home to start a fight. He came to finish one. They sat there for a moment, the hum of the diner filling the silence. The regulars tried not to stare, but they all knew why Marcus was there. News travels fast in small towns, faster when shame's involved. Harold finally spoke. "Don't do anything stupid." Marcus's tone was calm, almost measured. "I won't. I just want him to remember what respect feels like." Harold leaned back. "Respect can't be forced, son." "No," Marcus said, "but it can be taught." That afternoon, right around lunch rush, the door jingled again. Derek Holt walked in with his construction buddies, loud as always, confidence restored by ignorance, until he saw Marcus sitting across from Harold. Something in the air shifted. Conversations died. Forks stopped mid-air. Even the jukebox seemed to hush itself. Marcus stood slowly, calm, controlled. No threat, just presence. "You must be the man who likes pouring coffee." Derek froze, unsure how to react. Then he scoffed, forcing a smirk. "What's it to you?" Marcus stepped closer, one deliberate step at a time. Close enough for Derek to see the steady control in his eyes. "I'm the son of the man you disrespected." And in that moment, every ounce of bravado Derek ever had started to dry up. The diner was dead silent now. Even the fry cook stopped moving. Marcus didn't raise his voice, didn't threaten. He just reached into his jacket and pulled out a small black flash drive, sleek, unassuming, but heavier than any weapon Derek had ever known. He placed it on the counter between them. "This contains every second of what you did, from the coffee to the laughter, and yeah, the construction materials kickback you have been collecting too." Derek's smirk faltered. Marcus leaned in. "The local news wants it. Your company's HR wants it. And so does your wife." Derek swallowed hard. "You can't." Marcus cut him off. "Unless you make it right." The words weren't a threat. They were a mirror. And Derek couldn't stand his own reflection. Sometimes silence is the weapon, and Marcus just pulled the pin. Marcus didn't stay long after that. He slid the flash drive across the counter, then turned to leave. But before walking out, he looked back and said, "You think humiliation's funny? Wait till you see what it looks like in high definition." The diner door closed behind him, quiet, like a sentence being sealed. Derek stood there frozen, his buddies suddenly finding the floor very interesting. If you're watching this and you feel that shift, that quiet kind of justice, make sure you're subscribed. Because around here we tell stories that prove silence isn't weakness. It's a strategy. That evening Derek drove home in silence. No music, no small talk, just the sound of his own guilt getting louder. He couldn't eat, couldn't sleep. The image of Marcus's calm eyes replayed in his mind like a punishment. His phone buzzed. Text from an unknown number. No words, just a video link. He clicked it. It was him, pouring coffee, laughing, everyone watching. It also contained some documents showing his kickbacks. The video ended with a title card. "Some lessons come back around." He knew it wasn't public yet. Marcus was warning him, giving him one chance to make it right before the world saw what kind of man he really was. He wanted to laugh it off. But shame, once it finds your name, doesn't leave quietly. The next morning, Derek drove to the diner early, before sunrise, before anyone could see him. But Harold was already there, sitting in his usual booth. He looked up calmly, like he'd been expecting him. "You lost?" Harold asked. Derek shook his head. He looked smaller somehow, like his voice didn't fit his body anymore. He sat down across from Harold. "Look, sir, about the other day—" "Stop," Harold said without looking up. "You don't owe me words. You owe yourself a conscience." Derek nodded slowly. I didn't know who you were." Harold looked up this time, and that sentence hit him differently. "That's the problem," he said. "You never ask who a man is, you just decide." Silence again, the kind that burns. Outside, a pickup truck pulled up. Marcus. Derek saw him through the window and stiffened. Marcus walked in, not as a soldier this time, but as a son standing in his father's shadow. He stopped beside their table. "You came back," he said. Derek muttered, "Guess I needed to." Marcus nodded. "Good, because the world's about to find out what kind of man you decide to be today." He placed his phone on the table. It was already recording. The screen showed live. "You want to fix this? You do it right here." Derek's breathing got shallow. He looked around. The few morning customers had started recording too. Some lessons can't be learned in private. Some are taught in front of everyone you have ever tried to impress. Marcus didn't say another word. He just stood there, arms folded, watching. And for the first time, Derek Holt, the man who used to walk into that diner with laughter and swagger, had to face what he'd done under the weight of his own reflection. He reached for a napkin, wrote something down, folded it twice. "I'll be back tomorrow," he said quietly. "For real this time." Marcus gave a short nod. "Make sure you are." As he left, Harold looked up at his son. "You think he'll do it?" "He will," Marcus said, "because fear fades, but shame lingers. Tomorrow that diner won't just serve breakfast. It'll serve justice, hot and public. If you've made it this far, hit that subscribe button, because the next part isn't just about apology, it's about redemption, exposure, and one final lesson in power. It's the next morning. Marlon's diner has never been this full. Camera phones are out before the coffee's even poured. Everyone's waiting for a show, though no one says it out loud. Behind the counter, the teenage waitress who uploaded the video whispers, "He said he's coming and he's bringing an apology." At the corner booth, Mr. Harold Green sits exactly where he always does. Oatmeal, black coffee. The newspaper folded neatly, like nothing ever happened. But today there's something different in his eyes. Not anger, not pride, just peace. The kind that only comes from someone who's already won long before the battle starts. What Derek doesn't know is that sometimes the lesson isn't meant to humiliate, it's meant to expose. The door creaks open. Every head turns. Derek Holt walks in. Tie crooked, face pale, hands trembling like the weight of a confession might break him in two. He isn't wearing the loud confidence from before. He's wearing shame. The same men who laughed with him days ago now avoid his eyes. His crew isn't behind him. They stopped answering his calls the moment the video hit the local news. He spots Harold, and for the first time his feet hesitate before moving forward. He clutches a folded letter in his hand. The diner goes quiet, forks mid-air, coffee dripping in slow motion from the pot. He stops beside Harold's booth. "Sir," his voice cracks. "I came to apologize." Harold doesn't look up right away. He lets the silence work. Then, slow and even. "Because you're sorry, or because you got caught?" That line hits the room like thunder in church. Even the fry cook looks up from the grill. Derek swallows. You can hear his guilt in the air. "Both," he admits, voice trembling, "but mostly because I finally realized who you are." Harold folds his newspaper and looks him dead in the eye. "You had to find out my name before you saw my worth." The crowd murmurs, a truth that's too common to be comfortable. Derek places the letter on the table. His hands are shaking. "I wrote this for you, sir, and for everyone I disrespected without even knowing it." He takes a deep breath, turns around, and faces the diner. "This man," his voice rises, breaking, "this man served this country when people like me wouldn't even serve him breakfast. And I poured coffee on him, because I thought I was better." The room is dead silent. Sometimes the real punishment isn't what's done to you. It's realizing who you've become. Derek glances toward the door, and there, standing in the back, is Marcus Green, watching. He's not in uniform, but you can tell. There's something about how he stands, shoulders squared, eyes locked, like discipline molded into flesh. He doesn't say a word, doesn't even move. But Derek notices him, and he knows. That's the son, the Navy SEAL. The one who could have crushed him in a parking lot, but chose to let him do this instead. Derek continues, voice shaking. "When I saw the video online, I didn't even recognize myself. I looked like the kind of man my father used to warn me about. Angry, small, empty. I wanted power, and I confused it with cruelty." He turns back to Harold. "I can't undo what I did, but I can start by acknowledging who you are and who I was." Harold studies him quietly. Apology's a start. Change is the rest. Forgiveness doesn't always sound like mercy. Sometimes it sounds like the truth said without flinching. The cameras are still rolling, but now nobody's watching for drama. They're watching for redemption. Harold finally lifts the letter, opens it. Inside, a check. "It's the value of the contract I lost after that video went public," Derek says softly. "Thought maybe you could use it for a veteran's home, or burn it, if that's what feels right." Harold folds it back without even looking. "You keep it," he says. "Use it to become someone your son would be proud of, if you ever have one." You can feel the air shift. A man forgiven but not excused. Derek nods, trembling, and walks toward the door. As he passes Marcus, their eyes meet. No words, just a silent exchange between men who've both seen what power can do when it's used wrong. Marcus gives the faintest nod. Derek nods back, almost in relief. He leaves the diner. The teenage waitress whispers, "Was that real?" Harold looks out the window. All of it. The internet called it justice. But to Harold it was something quieter, a reminder that real strength doesn't roar, it endures. Marcus steps closer. "You didn't have to come here, Dad." Harold smiles faintly. "Didn't have to, wanted to. Because some lessons," he says, "you let life teach. Others you show up to witness." Marcus sits beside him. 2 generations of service, one in uniform, one in silence, sitting in the same booth where dignity once got drenched in coffee. In a world where humiliation trends faster than honor, this was the rare story where grace got the last word. They thought silence meant weakness, but real power doesn't need an audience, just a reason. He didn't raise his hand. He raised a son who knew when to. Marcus reaches for the coffee pot, pours a cup for his father. The same pot that once poured humiliation, now serving peace. The camera lingers on the steam rising between them. Fade to black. If stories like this hit you right here, subscribe, because on this channel we tell the kind of truth they don't teach in schools, the kind that heals and humbles. Justice didn't need fists, it needed witnesses.